Hey, what is up, Patreon? It's Rich. All right, welcome to the video. Okay, so what I thought I would do today is we're going to go over figure drawing and anatomy. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to kind of show you how to actually use an anatomy book and some things that I've seen, myself included, do that I consider a little bit of missteps with how people approach it. And the thing is this is what I would recommend. I'm using this book, Classic Human Anatomy. I've honestly never looked at this book, but I've had it for a while, and uh now is as good a time as any to check it out. I think I glanced at it when I had originally got it, and there's some nice drawings in it. But remember, you can source anatomy from just about anywhere, and what you'll find is over a period of years, you'll use comic books and maybe animation for parts of how you handle your drawings. You may use Bridgman or Andrew Loomis or not Scott Hampton, Michael Hampton. There's so many options, and maybe you learn it from YouTube, but however you do it, there's things that I would avoid. Now, one common thing that we all sort of do is we're like trying to learn anatomy is we'll generally copy a figure that looks like this figure here, which is sort of like they kind of call it a T-pose. He's not exactly in a T-pose. Usually a T-pose is 3D model with the arms straight out. But the purpose of this drawing is to just show you really simply the basic what would you call it? Like the basic position and shape of the muscles. You don't need to use this as a guidepost, but this wouldn't be where I would focus a majority of your effort. When you're learning to draw or practicing stuff. Essentially what you want to get from something like this is just the shapes, but we'll get into the book because I'm sure that they're going to show this drawing many, many times. But this is what I think is really important, is that kind of stuff there. That's where you really should be spending the majority of your time, and not so much on copying like the T poses. But we're gonna get into stuff far more detailed than this. This is PDF. It's gonna be a little slow until I shut some pieces. So, because there's a lot, I opened almost 190 files. Now, this is great. This is what I'm talking about right here. This is fantastic. So, this almost has a little bit of an Andrew Loomis vibe, and also a little bit of Glenn Villapoo, who's I think he's like a European anatomy teacher. But these are great shapes. So one thing that I'm recognizing in this, that depending on where you're at with your drawing, you may or may not, there's a little bit of anatomy that he's showing that is like bone. So this is your hips. Sorry, the lag on my computer is going to slow me down just a little bit here for a few. But this right here is a real key thing that you're going to want to get. And then also this. And then on this one, he's showing you, sorry, the rib cage. This is another bone. And this is another bone. But see, the thing is when people don't know anatomy, they don't really know to look for that stuff. And so what ends up happening, this is the scapulas. They're kind of hidden in here, but what he's trying to do is he's showing you some really important skeletal things that are really going to help you set up your figures. So these bony protrusions end up being actually quite helpful for setting up figures. This is really good stuff. Beautiful drawings. Okay, so we can shut this. We're not going to go fast through this stuff, but we're going to move at a decent clip, and especially as I'm able to shut more of these files, it'll be a little faster. I probably overdid it with how many I opened, but I get greedy. No. Okay, so it was funny because I shot like a 40-minute video before I did this of anatomy that I'm gonna have to edit down, but it's me just drawing with no reference out at all, you know. So I feel like I just went over all this a second ago, but like here's the hand wedge, and you can really see that he shows the side plane here. He puts a shadow on it so that you can really recognize it. This here has got a great twist to it, so it's coming around like this. Now the hand wedge can do a lot of different things in this thing. It could be like this. You could have it like that. You could rotate it. Come on. I'm trying to get it to go backwards. Let's do it. Come on. Is it not going to do it? Oh, there it goes. Oh, this is so frustrating. Okay, there we go. But you could also have it at an angle like this, where it's coming down more. Or even at this angle. It's funny drawing it with the lag. It's like I had to imagine. But your hand could you could have your hand at this angle and your thumb would be like here. And then these would be your fingers. So here, whoops. Right here, we've got this big bone. And then this. But this is going to help guide you to the direction that your muscles go. So let me grab a different color really quick. So your arm muscles will come like this. They pull across the chest. They attach to the bone. Honestly, if you could see through this, this actually pulls under all this to the bone. I mean, like all of this stuff attaches to the bone. But the bicep goes over it. Let me grab another color. But you could see just this helps you know where the muscles are going to go because they're going to follow the bone. They're attached to the bone, so they have to. So when you're learning to draw, don't neglect learning the skeleton, because I go back to it all the time for poses now, and it really makes it so much easier to draw. When I was learning to draw, you know, like probably a lot of you, we focus on what we see. And this doesn't complicate things, and in fact, it actually simplifies things. It makes it so much easier to not only memorize this stuff, but to be able to use it really any way you want. And one thing I was going to say going into this video is, there's really not that many muscles, and there's not that really many bones to memorize. It seems really overwhelming and like this complicated thing, but when you start thinking of it in terms of a mechanical sort of operation, meaning that it's bone and muscle, it actually makes a lot of sense, and you can work out problems really just based on if you have the muscles memorized, and there's not that many muscles. And the thing is you learn half the body, it's the same. You only have to learn half of a figure, the front half and the back, so it's kind of times two. But you know, how many muscles really are here? It's just not that much. It's not that much, friends. I'll just do half of it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, like people think the back is like so complicated. How many muscles is this? It's, I mean, well, we'll count them as simple muscles. So we'll say that this, I call this the manta ray as a joke, but the manta ray is really just one shape. Sorry, this thing is lagging. But you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe 9 muscles in this little area. I mean, there's more if you want to subdivide stuff, but it's not that crazy. Your arm is maybe 12 muscles. Your leg is like another 12. You know, the front of the chest and stuff like that really is not that big of a deal either. It's maybe 14 things. So you can do this, but you see how nice this looks, even just with this simple thing. And I mean, none of this information is there. This is all, I mean, I could draw these figures. It just takes longer to do a video that way. It's faster for me to do this. But, you know, these are the points of interest that you want to kind of pick up on. So let's start to shut some of these files so that we've got a little more RAM. But yeah, you'll have so much fun drawing when you can get your forms down. You know, I really would strongly suggest that that's what you know, if you were gonna if you were real excited about learning to draw, no matter what, you know, like, unless you feel that you're completely self-sufficient with your anatomy and that you can draw anything that you want to draw, maybe not out of your head, but you feel confident that like you could sit down and draw a figure and have the anatomy. You feel confident that you could uh, handle any kind of form, because if you can't do that, then you're definitely going to have trouble drawing anything. You know, drawing a toilet isn't much harder than drawing a wheel on a car. Isn't much harder than drawing, you know, Baba Yaga from Hellboy in a wood pot flying with a broomstick. Sorry, waiting for this to shut. Hopefully Photoshop doesn't crash. I shut all my other applications. Come on. I shouldn't open so many files. It was my own fault. It will definitely, as I shut more, it will be good to go though, so don't worry. It's already speeding up. Okay, we're not going to worry about this kind of stuff. This is a little too arty-farty. Like, it was too hard to fish through the PDF to grab all the pages that would be of interest to what we're going to work on. So we're not going to worry about the real arty-farty stuff right now. Because a drawing like that is exactly what I'm talking about. It's a lot of surface polish. In an anatomy book, they're gonna point out things that are more anatomical, but like the I think what's interesting on this one is his kneecaps. Like that, I was immediately like this is really nice because you can see this, which is the leg bone. You can feel that in there. And you can feel this. And then again, you've got this bone that comes right here and goes to the big toe. And then you've got a smaller bone that does that. But same deal. When you're putting anatomy on something like this, you know, it's just plug and play once you have anatomy memorized. And the foot's not like a huge deal. You know, it's real similar to the hand in a way where you've got sort of this shape. Let me scoot this. Oh, actually, I don't even need to scoot it over. I love it. Just draws this like random line, but just like the palm wedge, you can think of it like this. So that's kind of the front of the foot. The back of the foot will do this so that you've got the where it connects to the thing, but then you've got a rectangle that sits back here that's kind of like at this angle. I'm drawing through so that you can see the shape that's kind of back there. It's obviously our heel is more round, but that's what you're working around. And the toes are just simple rectangles, basically. Do my little dog bone shape. This is the drop. That's not the toenail. You see? Okay, let's shut this. Some really nice stuff going on in the arm too, but we'll have plenty of opportunities to check out arms. But I'm going to do, this will be an hour video, so we're going to go like 45 more minutes. So there'll be plenty of fun stuff to check out. I just want to free up some RAM so when I draw, it's not pausing. There's two ways you can open up PDF files. If you're in Photoshop, you'll notice that you can select images or files. If you select images, it will pull less RAM. Oh, this is awesome. Fuck, I love this shit. This is great. Wow, that is so cool looking. Now, this is a lot of information. This is a very, very detailed arm, like crazy detailed. Like to put this much information on this arm is crazy. And again, I would not recommend sitting and copying this stuff. As tempting as it is, you're not going to get that much out of it as you might think just sitting and copying it. I saw someone recently online was copying a bunch of stuff out of Bridgman, and I've done it too, so I'm not faulting the person, but you can very, very easily go through a session like that and literally not retain anything. If I were to take that person and give them 48 hours to let that information cool off, and I said, okay, sit down and let me see you draw some of the stuff that you learned on Monday, there's a high likelihood that they wouldn't remember any of it, and that they wouldn't be able to do it you know, at the level that they want. And so the thing is when you are practicing, what you kind of want to do is you want to go for memorization, and you can memorize by copying. So it's not that I'm telling you like to never copy, but what you want to try to do, and it's not easy with a drawing like this, is to find the simplest shapes. So for something like this is the chest here. I'm going to draw both sides. I'll point out something too with the chest too. So when you have the chest at this angle, you've basically got a rectangle at this angle. It's a little tilted, but I'm just going to draw it kind of more like this. But remember this, because this is a very, very common mistake that people make, is the moment that you have something in space going back, even if it's at a slight angle, I'm going to make this one at a more extreme angle, but I'm going to show you something. Okay, the center line of this is not the middle of this. Okay? You do not divide that in the middle. Do not divide this in the middle, because that is not where the center line is. The moment that you take a rectangle and if you're seeing any side plane, immediately what's going on is the side that's towards you is getting bigger and the side that's away from you is getting smaller. And when you practice T-pose man and you think that everything lines up, this will take a second to draw itself. We'll see if the information gets down. But yeah, T-pose man tells you that the center's in the middle. T-pose man lies to you, and that's why T-pose man is not a great thing to practice on, because the thing is I'm going to exaggerate the center line on this a little bit for you just so that you really get the point. But if you go from corner to corner on this, they'll appear in a second, hopefully. Did it not do any of them? Why didn't it do that? Let's see. I'll just draw it then. I was trying to use the tool. If you draw corner to corner, what's going to end up happening is this side will be shorter, this side will be longer. Just like this. It starts to scoot over. And so, yeah, be careful of that, because that can really make your drawings look stiff, and that's how, like, you ever draw something in your sketch, it looks really good, and as you draw it, like, all of a sudden the pose is like standing up straight, or that kind of side view that you had all of a sudden kind of became a front view, or a head that you had at a certain angle seemed to, like, all of a sudden go back to, like, the head that you always draw, and you're like, how did that even happen? The sketch was like an upshot, or it was a little bit of like a 3/4 view, and when I finished it, it straightened out. Well, that's why. So anyway, now looking at the arm, what you want to focus in on for something like that. Sorry, it's trying to do all the moves that I did. What I would focus in on is try to think of this. Get this shape down. Maybe this. Or this. Think of this as one thing. Try to dumb it down at first, because this is more manageable to memorize. So again, the point of this is to kind of show you how to look at an anatomy book and not confuse yourself with all the information that you're learning. You could maybe have this as one, and then have this as one. So now you're memorizing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 shapes, and then you've got the hand wedge. So in the hand wedge is at this angle right now. And this is bone here. Now with the hand, you can have the bones. This bone comes at a different angle. So if your hand is coming towards you, and this is the pointer finger, I'll kind of put it similar to the pose that we just saw. So your thumb wedge, or thumb, yeah, the thumb comes out at this angle. You see? And then these are bones. This goes back to the middle of the hand. That's a bone, though. This is another bone. Those kind of create the knuckles. They don't kind of. They are the knuckles. So this finger can go here. Middle finger is not necessarily longer than the other finger, but because of the palm wedge is a little bit of an anvil shape, it's pushed forward a little bit. But I think that your pointer finger, middle finger, and ring finger are just about the same size. And again, these are very, very movable shapes. You can do a lot with these simple forms, and they become very, very effective. The other thing that's a good takeaway from this particular piece is they're showing you a little bit of how like the back muscles attached to the arm bone. Like this is the arm bone right here, and you've even got muscles that come up underneath the deltoid. I think this is the deltoid. Whatever the shoulder pad muscle is, but you can see that like they're showing you that there's even muscles that come up from underneath and attach to the bone, and there's your bicep sort of attaches to the bone, your tricep attaches to the bone, and this all pulls around, and this is your scapula, the back shoulder pieces, which we'll see in a bit. And then this would be a lot to take away, but if you look here, this is like the shoulder, and you see this is your chest muscle, and your chest muscle even wraps around this, which is why up here, let me grab like a pink color or something that will stand out good. So this right here, this is the shoulder going to the elbow. So this is the elbow bone. This is your chest muscle, and it goes over that. What I'm showing you is this right here. This. And then this is like this and pulls up to here. So when you see people draw the muscles and everything is pulling like this. And this honestly, I've seen this in comics a million times too. Travis has done a post similar to this. I've seen Lanil Yu. It's usually you've got like someone with like monster claws or something and their hands kind of out. So you'd have some like Warblade or something. But you get that really cool thing right there. Stephen Platt, Finch, all the good artists. Okay, so we can shut this one. Remember, the goal of this is to decipher all this tremendous information that you're afforded in an anatomy book, and what the heck do you do with it? And the great thing is, look, what you see today in an anatomy book is not what you'll see 6 months from now. You'll continue to return to these anatomy books and be able to constantly mine little gems of nuance and information that will slowly, over time, give you more options for this stuff. And, the key is, ultimately, you just want to keep the stuff that looks cool to you. So that's the great thing about learning all this, too, is, what it's as you become familiar with the different drawing books, you'll go, I like this. It was very, very funny. I don't think the person is still a patron, and if they are, it's not a big deal either way. But I had someone that wanted to take lessons from me one time, and they sent me a very, very long list of their goals and all this stuff, and it was interesting to read. But there was one thing that they said, and I saw their art, and I went like, this is a very weird thing. But they were like, I want to learn the anatomy of Loomis. I want to learn the eyes of Teddy Fredrickson, like all these different drawing books, and what they thought the best of it was for. And then at one point they said, but I don't want to learn the heads of so and so. And I was like, that's weird. Why don't they want to learn the heads of that? And then a couple of days later, I was on David Finch's website, and he had a bunch of tips for artists, and the guy was just regurgitating all the stuff that Finch had said, which is how we learn. It's like, you ever have a friend that goes to college, and they start telling you like all this stuff, and they're just telling it to you like they know it, but it's like basically the teacher said it the night before at their class. Kind of deal. But I was like, this person doesn't draw good enough to be able to tell me that like he doesn't like the way that like so and so, or not. It wasn't that he didn't like it, but that the person didn't know how to construct heads properly. I thought it was very funny. It was like a red flag went off immediately when we said it, because I was like, you don't draw good enough to be like making this call. So anyway, one very, very cool thing about like a lot of anatomy, and again, we're going to look at simple shapes and not get bogged down by the immensity of all the muscles here just yet, is check this out. Okay, does that look familiar to you? Like, have you seen this anywhere else? Because it's very, very similar to your tricep. I could easily turn this into an arm drawing. But the back of your leg really kind of has that vibe of the back of the arm, which is, let's see if my finger draws it. There we go. It's a pulley system is what it is. You got muscles that come down and attach to these to your bone and make these things. So couple of takeaways from the back of the leg. We'll get into this more in a second, but let me remove this stuff. It's funny, the one thing that my computer doesn't want to do is go back. Let me see if I can do it with the history states quicker. This might save me some heartache if I can get this to open. Yeah, cool. Okay, perfect. Now I don't have to go back. It'll just be one step to get back. So, okay. I'm gonna do it. There we go. And this is kind of more muscles than I always think of this as kind of one thing. But then not this. This is a muscle that runs down the side of your leg, and then these two muscles in here. I think there's three. They're kind of like on your inner thigh. You see them a lot in comics, like from a front view. Let's do this quick. You'll see like a muscle go like this, and then you see a couple muscles like in here. That's those right there, and they pull up and sort of attach to your groin. But and this is another thing that I don't see tons of comic book artists draw, is I kind of try to throw this big tendon that holds the muscles in. This basically starts underneath your knee right here, and it goes up and across these muscles and sort of holds them in. So from the front, what it looks like is this. So if this is the front of your leg in a simple form, it does this. Kind of starts underneath your knee. Why did I grab bread? There we go. Yeah, I grabbed bread. Okay. It starts underneath your knee, and it kind of pulls all this up, and then it actually attaches to your hip bone. It wraps over it like this, but it essentially sort of holds this muscle in, kind of holds this muscle in. This one has got a support on the side, so there's another big tendon. I believe they're tendons. I'll do the tendons in a different color. We'll put them in purple. So we're gonna say that this is a tendon. I could be referring to it as the wrong thing. And then there's another one that runs up the side of the leg that sort of holds that in. But then the way that comic book artists draw it is that just they do it as like sort of muscle, couple of muscles, usually another one like this, and then on your hip here, this stuff all wraps around your leg bone, your hip bone. So you've got muscles that do that. And then for this, inside is the high side of your ankle, but this is a small bone that comes like this. I'm sorry, I lost control of it. Or no, the bigger bone is to the big toe, I think. Let me go back a couple. Yeah, I'm nearly sure that this bone is the bigger of the two bones. Yeah, it is. And then this is the smaller bone. Let me think. Big bone. We'll see. I could be getting confused. I'm pretty sure that the one that goes to your big toe is the thicker of the two bones. So you can see, it's a little bit to remember. Oh, and then you can think of it like this too, as the sort of zigzag shape. Let me show you this really quick before we shut it. The kind of flow thing of it. Oh, it shut it. I'll show you here what I mean. It was this kind of thing where it goes sort of like that, like high side is the inside of the ankle, but then those bone muscles are like this. So you get this kind of thing. I don't really use that very much in my figure drawing, to be honest. That's like a big thing that people, I remember, like, when you're learning, you hear a lot about that. I it's nothing that I really concern myself with that much, and we're not going to look at this figure. It's not really relevant to what we're talking about right now. I mean, it's a nice drawing, but it's not necessary that we analyze this. There's better fish to fry. Bigger and better. Okay, I can shut this. This book was made when the internet was around. So let's see. Anything here that I want to point out? Yeah, I could do a study of the feet, but we'll worry about that a little bit. Let's see what else we got. This is nice. Okay. A couple of reasons that I want to do this is there's shifting planes, meaning that we've got overlap, which I like, and we've also got a leg on the edge of a thing. So first things first, and they actually did their hand kind of flat. It's not terrible, but if this is a ledge, okay, and this is where your hand's gonna sit. Like that's the simple shape of it. Remember what I said before is, hopefully it'll let me zoom in. Go to open. Okay, cool. So the top of your hand, because this is where it gets confusing, and it's fine to not put detail on the top of the hand. Don't feel like you have to, but I'm just going to show you something here. So this is a bone. This is a bone. Okay, so that's what your arm bones are doing. Okay, and then your hand bones, there's this little batch of bones right here, and then this. Okay, now what you have next is, we'll do this as a darker color, your phalange, your bones. Are here. Now I'm gonna show you that's simple, a simple version of what you've got going on. But remember, the top of your hand is like this. So this bone, your pointer finger bone, actually comes at a bit of an angle. So it actually is turned a little bit like this. So I'll do it like super simple. Your pointer finger is a little bit at that angle. So this is a little bit sort of at an angle turned like this. Do you see that shape? I'm exaggerating it here, but don't think that these are all like straight. And your middle finger leans the other way. So this bone kind of comes like this and leans this way. This one leans a little bit that way. This one leans with your middle finger. So it's leaning this way. Again, that's an exaggerated shape, but it's tilted that way. Okay, then your pinky, believe it or not, has to be a jerk. And it kind of comes out at this angle. And then your pinky sort of kind of wraps in on itself. So it sort of twists in each step of the way. So, and then the pointer finger kind of does the same thing. It's twisting in this way. Okay. Pinky twists in this way. Whoa. Go away. Oh, okay, it's gonna draw it. So it's slight, but if you look at your fingers, you can see it. Your pinky curves in towards your middle finger. Your pointer finger curves in towards your middle finger. But since they're on opposite sides of it, you get that. So the one thing for your knuckles, when you draw your knuckles for a fist or anything like that, these, in my opinion, are the deciding factor on your knuckles, where they are. For the longest time, I always assumed it was the finger knuckles, meaning that the first this part of your bone was what caused the knuckle. It really isn't. It's these. It's the ones on the top of your hand that creates that silhouette that we all know and love. This thing. And then your finger actually starts there. So this right here is this right here, the top of this bone. So again, what makes this nice is that you can set up any pose by just placing a block for the hand. Sorry, I'm waiting for this to shut. Come on. Oh, it's trying to move it. Okay. This. Open. And then I wanted to do the leg. So, when doing the leg, this is your torso. And this will tie in really nicely with the other video that I shot today that, like I said, I'll finish it tomorrow and edit it, and I'll be able to post it up because it's got a lot of really, really good stuff in it, and it's all creative figure drawing from scratch. But when you've got your torso set up like this, you want to think of your leg comes out from your hip, your femur sticks out a little bit, so it's a little bit away from your body, and then it comes like this. So what happens is if you don't realize that if this is your hips, in a very simple iteration of it, your leg doesn't like start like here. It comes out. You know what I'm saying? And then this comes around, and this bone is like this. And that's what this is. So this is your top of your kneecap. This is this little buddy right here. Your big toe is going to get the big bone. This is going to get Little bone. Then these are like this, like how your hand is, and there's small bones that connect it just like your hand. I mean, it's like literally just a different version of this. And then each toe. Will be underneath that. So this stuff can really, really help. And then watch how quick we can slap anatomy on this, my friends. So and then if we had that ligament thing, which again, you don't really see it, but it's just kind of to know it's there. That comes up and goes over all this and sort of locks it in. And then we'll see on other pieces. He'll show the side, I'm sure. So we can shut this and continue. Oh man, I could do this forever. I freaking love learning this stuff. I really do. Hopefully you have a passion for learning, because if you have a passion for learning, you're never going to get bored with drawing. In particular, like really drawing, you know, not trying to create a bunch of like cheats and things that are going to sort of like make it look like you're drawing. Why not really learn to draw, you know? You can use tools and crutches, but you know, ultimately, especially now, I talked about AI a little bit in a YouTube video that I shot for regular YouTube, and I ended up not posting it, not because of that, but just it was a little off topic for what I was looking at. But you know, the thing is you're gonna have all these people competing for AI generated type imagery that don't really know how to draw. So that's going to be a completely oversaturated market, because you're going to have, like, say, millions of people that don't really know how to draw and can only rely on AI to create sort of images. It'd be like having like a filter, you know, and being able to tweak photos or have things photo bash. And I realize how advanced AI is already in like 6 months, although it's been around longer. But the last 6 months, I mean, it's really, really gotten good. But you know, the thing is you're gonna have a fan base of people that really just prefer to have people that draw. And the thing is when you can show that you can draw, like a band, like it's great to have music that you like electronic music, and it's gonna go the same way. There's gonna be so much music that's AI generated that's gonna sound really nice, but ultimately when people want to go see a band, they're going to want to see a live band that actually plays instruments and, you know, does that, the people that are into that kind of thing. But it's the same with art. There's always going to be, at least for the next 100 years, people that appreciate people that can actually draw. So again, this is something that I would never practice. And in fact, it's a very odd figure. She's very long from the her shoulders to her. I'm just going to shut it because I don't want to waste the RAM trying to go back. But yeah, this is a very distorted figure. She's got a very long upper body, and her hips and crotch area are actually too low. Too low for our comic aesthetics. You could draw characters that way, but it's not. Well, we'll be able to see it, I guess, anyway. But yeah, if you look, her upper body is too long, and then her crotch is a little low. And see, this is the thing too that you have to realize is this is too low. It's close to where it would be on the rib cage, but it's a little bit of a realistic interpretation. But I'd almost like to see her legs a little bit longer, and then this a little bit. But it's a kind of a realistic figure. But yeah, I don't sit and practice these. These are just to like sort of see what's going on. The only person that I've ever heard say don't practice these like over and over again, I just don't think that it benefits you. And if you can draw better than me and you want to prove me wrong, that you think that they're good, then let's go. No. Come on, shut it. Shut it down. Ooh, okay, this is cool. So, you know what I like about this one? you know, again, it's being able to look at these images and see like what's of use to you. Now this is it reminds me of Bern Hogarth. It's a little you know, that's not the point of this drawing. The point of the drawing is to show the center line of the body, but you know, a really nice drawing thing right here is the breast, how it's crunched right here. That's really, really cool. And then this one is, oops, sorry, I'm drawing on a Cintiq, and it's kind of at a steep angle, so it's like hard for me to do certain moves with my arm because of how steep it is. Now I'm just determined to get it and see if I can actually get the but yeah, this is really, really nice, and it's that kind of squish and stretch kind of thing. You know, this is pulling up, so it's pulling up into here, and then this has got the squish right there, her shoulder thing. This one is stretched out, so really, really nice little area right there. This is great. This tight angle right here, and then this. So if you could see through this, you could see how much of a twist that hips is at. Pretty steep angle, and then this one is kind of leaning back a bit. It's not that steep, but there's a little bit of that. So what ends up happening is when you have something like that is you actually start to see underplanes and top planes. And I'll point out what I mean by that is the reason that there's this shadow here is because of this ridge, which is the, like, you're seeing bottom planes of this rectangle, meaning that if the rectangle is tilted back like this, I'm putting it at a more extreme angle, but this ridge right here on her chest, because the fact that she's leaning back, you get a shadow here because the light's coming from above, because you can see on her breast, which is a sphere, not a circle, a sphere, there's a shadow around it. And again, this has got form. So never think in terms of circles and squares. We have cubes, and we have spheres and cylinders, and what is the one called? I always forget the name of it. The one that's the donut. They have a fancy name for it. What is it called? Damn it. It's a cool name for the donut shape. We'll call it Jed. No, it's not Jed, I promise. I'll probably think of it in a bit. Have to think of my primitives. So medial center axis of the figure. Again, don't really want to focus on that too much. But the next page looks like it'll have something interesting, which was what I was mentioning before, where the medial line shifts on the figure. So this next page should be handy. Yeah, here we go. So you can see how this, from here to here, is thicker than that. So it's subtle, but it's, you know, it doesn't, I don't think it's weird to put a figure like this and to somehow imagine that the center of it would be the center, and what you're starting to do is you're starting to turn the figure around a little bit more this way, just because you don't have your center line running down the center. Then the other thing that you get is where your legs will plant and the feet. Can trip people out because they're not on the same plane. Like I said, there's lag, so my drawing might be a little funky, but you get the point of what I'm trying to get at. Is, you know what I mean? Because he's standing on a plane like this. But this is the good shit to practice. This is what we ultimately want out of comics, is we want these cool drawings of, you know, characters and sort of dynamic poses. So stuff like that, you know. And that's not a bad scale of figure, but you know, we could have him much bigger. You could really beef this guy up. You know, make his head a little smaller, and all of a sudden he starts looking real big, you know. Make his legs super chunky. But you know, you could make him real big and even bigger. You know, if you put armor on him or something. Now all of a sudden he's huge. Give him big gloves, some spikes, horns. The lag is killing me. I like literally like I draw it and I have to wait like 3 seconds for like whatever it is. But you know, you get what I'm saying. Like you can build really fun figures fast, and that's what it's about. It should be fun. Drawing should be fun and not a miserable experience. So this is cool. We won't get into this right now. We'll go for 5 more minutes. An hour, I think, is enough. People, you can always check this stuff out if you want to read this and like look at it on your own. Obviously, by all means, get into it as much as you want. And some people are really into like the names. I mean, I slowly have acquired some of the names, but I always forget them, and I'm never confident when I say most of them. So even the ones that I think I know, I a lot of times really like hesitate to say it just because I'm like, I'm probably gonna mess it up. So it's not the most important thing. I mean, really, I mean, what you want to know is the what the part of the body, how the bone and muscle interact, and then the range of motion, which is kind of what they're talking about here. You know, it's like what position can your leg go? And the video that I did earlier that I'll post tomorrow, I talk about the range of motion of the leg and the arm and stuff like that. And you know, I really show examples using the bone. You know, that you can have it. You know, because your leg can kind of come out this way too. You know, and then this could go back. You could have your foot up a bit. Or it could go way back this way. And your foot could be up here. You know, there's a lot of different things that it can do. So range of motion is important. It's not exactly what they're talking about. They're talking about flex and extension, but it's the same idea. It's just the movement that your body can sort of handle and use. I'd never really practiced any of this stuff. I mean, it's just being the awareness. It's like, yeah, your toes have a little bit of, they can, you know, stretch out a little bit or move together, but you know, you'll instinctively start to pick up on the nuances of that. It's a like, I wouldn't really call it advanced. I think it's an intermediate concept, to be honest. But you go back even a year ago, my videos, I would talk about range of motion. I think I started using the term probably when I was working on Crystal Planet, is I had to draw more figures because I did 125 pages of Crystal Planet, and I mean, honestly, I don't think that I ever used reference. This stuff isn't that good, though. To be clear, I'm not like super proud of the work because I was working quickly, but you know, I basically did 125 pages of sequentials out of my head. So I mean, I definitely got a lot of practice that way, but it was very simplified art. But when I was done, the next 6 months, I had a huge growth surge because I was like, well, now let me put a lot of detail into my stuff. And you know, I might have even gone overboard with it, but you know, the construction of things was more solid. And now cut to like a year later, I'm even more confident, more experienced with it. And also once you have an awareness of it, I mean, you really start to exercise these ideas. When your leg can rotate a little bit, so I mean, you definitely don't always think of your leg. I mean, that actually is an important thing, is that your leg can, let me stop this for a second. Oh, well, anyway, but your leg can twist a little bit. So your leg can twist a little bit this way, and it can twist a little bit in. It's not a lot, but there's, your kneecap doesn't always have to be like this. You can actually have it twist a bit where it's a little bit more like out like this. Maybe your foot would be a little bit more out like this. So, some nice stuff. You could definitely check that out. Take a screenshot of it and blow it up a little bit. The page before. I really like this book. I have to say, I'm very impressed by it. I remember getting it and kind of glancing at it one time on my iPad and going like, this is not bad. This is actually a good one. Like I said, I'll give any drawing book a chance, and if I even learn one or two things from it, and I don't generally read them. I just look at the pictures, and then over time I've sort of been able to pick up the thing. Maybe not, that might not be the best. That's not a recommendation of how to do it, but your toes can bend. So let's see. I'm gonna shut a few of these. Let's go further in for a second. Your elbow or shoulders. But this is nice, like some good nuance. We'll get into how the back muscles work and how how they scrunch and will stretch out, because the back, if you take your arms and put them back like you're diving, but that your arms are behind you, sort of pointing straight back, what ends up happening is all your muscles turn into like they get rounder and kind of get more constricted. Okay, so we're not gonna do this. Next time I won't open as many pages. I'll be more selective because we will have already a conversation going on this stuff. There's your kneecap. And that would be that's on the left. That would be your left leg. Your left. If you're standing, looking at it, would be the right leg. And here's the hip bone, how it pops out from the body. It's nice. Good stuff. That was a game changer for me. Learning the hand bones was a game changer for me, although I drew okay hands before, but it pretty much made it where I think I could draw just about any hand pose that I want out of my head. I mean, there's some that are more fancy that obviously you'd be better off, like, at least, some of those Renaissance hands where they're like kind of like fanning out. But I think you could still, you could definitely figure it out on your own. But and then the leg bone to the knee was a big one. And the hand, like I said, it's so similar to the feet. I didn't really have trouble drawing feet though the last few years. So feet and hands weren't a huge concern for me. I don't know, what am I into right now? I got clothes down. I think patience is the thing that I lack the most is patience in drawing. Is I want to see results fast, and I want it to look great, like right out of the gate. And it's a really bad habit. This is very cool. This is part of your tricep, or maybe it's not considered the tricep, but they call it the anterior view of pelvic femur. Oh, it's the leg. Oh, sorry. I was so focused on the muscle, but it's funny because it is similar to, I said that it was similar to the tricep, but yeah, so it's the quadriceps. Interesting. Okay. If people were more hardcore on Patreon, I swear to God, I would do a 5-hour video on this stuff, but nobody would watch it. It would get like 13 views, and most people would never ever get through it all. But I would totally do it. I would love it. I thought about creating like a sort of like super advanced aggressive course for Patreon. I may do it. Maybe I'll do it in another month or two. Where for people that are super hardcore and want to go like really bananas and get into the minutia, that they can have an option to do it. It just would be more time consuming on my part. So it would have to be a different tier. So okay, well I'm gonna end it there. But there's your skeleton. I actually have some really good reference on skeletons like in different positions. I think I shared some of the images in the last video that I did, but I was obsessed with how the radius and ulna worked at different positions of the arm. I understood how it worked and how they cross over when the arms are forward, but there were certain angles where I never felt convinced that I was sure. And so I was able to work it out. I still probably have some self-doubt in it, but much better than before. But you can see how the big bone in the leg, the tibia goes to your big toe, and that's your high ankle, and then the thin fibula is thinner and is the low side and goes to your little toe. So an easy way to remember it is the thick bone goes to your big toe, big to big. And the same with your arm. In some ways, because I considered like how I call this the big bone is this is bigger than this. So the big one on this goes to your thumb. So again, it kind of echoes what your feet do. And, you definitely want to get those two bones down because it'll make your wrists look cooler. So, all right, you guys have a great day, and pluck around on this. You'll always be going back to this. So, you can do it now, you can do it later, but I assure you that over the next 5 years, if you're really serious about drawing, you'll return to this stuff many times. So hopefully this video can be a fun one to revisit. And I have a lot of videos on anatomy. So good luck with it and have fun. If you have any questions, just let me know in the comments section. You guys are always usually pretty quiet. So I don't know what that means, but good luck with it. All right, I'll talk to you later. Bye.